Deep Work. Fast Growth. Focus like your future depends on it. Written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. Most people will never do anything truly exceptional, not because they lack talent, but because they never learn to sit still. In a world addicted to stimulation, silence feels unbearable. We check our phones in the elevator. We scroll while waiting in line. We open new tabs before the old ones load. Distraction has become default, and attention has become a forgotten art. But here's the uncomfortable truth: the work that changes your life will always demand more focus than you're used to giving it. This book isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters, deeper and better than anyone else. It's about mastering the one skill that multiplies all others, the ability to work with intense, deliberate, uninterrupted concentration in a world that rewards reaction. Cal Newport gave the world the term deep work. What you'll find here is the field guide, a map for turning depth into growth, fast, meaningful, and exponential, not theoretical, not abstract, practical, ruthless, clear. Because nothing slows down your success like diluted focus. Here's the paradox: the fastest way to grow is to slow down and go deep. It's not a sexy message, but it's a necessary one. Because while others chase hacks, trends, and noise, you'll be building leverage. You'll be doing the kind of work that compounds, and one day they'll wonder how you leapt so far ahead. That leap doesn't happen by accident. As leadership expert Robin Sharma once said, addiction to distraction is the death of creative production. He's right. The future doesn't belong to the busiest, it belongs to the most focused. This book is your battle plan. The chapters ahead will help you reclaim your time, sharpen your mind, and produce work that actually moves the needle. Not for applause, for impact. You don't need more tools, you need more focus. And the discipline to protect it. Let's get to work. Chapter 1: The Focus Crisis. It begins with a simple twitch, a glance at the phone, a scroll through social media, a new tab open just to check something. Minutes pass. The task you meant to finish in 1 hour drags into 3. You're busy, but not effective. Exhausted, but not accomplished. You worked all day and still feel behind. Sound familiar? You're not alone, you're living in a global attention crisis. In today's economy, distraction is profitable. Every ping, every red notification bubble, every autoplay video is designed to hijack your focus. The average worker switches tasks every 3 minutes. Knowledge workers spend more time managing interruptions than producing anything of depth. And it's not just stealing time, it's stealing meaning, momentum, and mastery. We've mistaken motion for progress. Our calendars are full, but our minds are fragmented. We answer emails like a reflex. We sit in meetings with 10 browser tabs open. We multitask until we forget what we were doing in the first place. And when we do finally sit down to concentrate, we find ourselves restless, twitchy, addicted to input. The ability to do deep, uninterrupted work is becoming rare, but rarity is the breeding ground of value. The modern economy doesn't reward noise, it rewards results. Deep results, strategic thinking, creative breakthroughs, solutions that can't be Googled. The person who can sit, think, and execute without distraction is becoming a unicorn in the workforce. They produce more in a few hours than others do in days. They solve problems no one else has the patience to see through. They are not just faster, they are better. Consider this: shallow work is replaceable. Anyone can answer emails. Anyone can fill out forms or forward messages. But creating a solution no one else could imagine, writing the proposal that wins the deal, crafting the code that unlocks a new product feature, that comes from focus. And focus doesn't live in noise, it lives in stillness. In a world obsessed with hacks and hustle, deep work feels countercultural. It requires boredom. Stillness. Saying no. It feels inefficient, until it becomes indispensable. 1 hour of real focus outperforms 5 hours of fractured effort. Deep work isn't just productive, it's exponential. Each session builds on the last. Each breakthrough fuels the next. Focus becomes a flywheel, turning energy into momentum and momentum into mastery. But here's the hard truth: no one is going to protect your focus for you, not your boss, not your clients, not your phone. You must decide that your time matters more than your distractions. You must take control of your attention like your future depends on it, because it does. Your greatest opportunities won't come when you're reacting, they'll come when you're creating. When you're thinking clearly. When your mind is fully present in the problem, that's when breakthroughs happen. The focus crisis isn't just about time. It's about identity. Are you becoming someone who reacts all day, bouncing from one demand to the next? Or are you becoming someone who creates value no one else can replicate? That question will shape your career, your business, and your legacy. This book is not about working harder. It's about working deeper. It's about training your mind to stay present when others drift. It's about choosing what matters over what tempts. Because in the war for your attention, only one side wins, and it won't be by accident. Distraction is stealing your time, energy, and growth. Shallow work is replaceable. Deep work makes you irreplaceable. Focus is not a luxury, it's your competitive edge. Where in your day are you confusing motion for progress? Pick one task today. Silence every notification. Set a 45-minute timer. Go deep, and don't look up until it rings. Chapter 2. Depth over distraction. Imagine two people at their desks. One spends the day toggling between inboxes, texts, social media, and shallow tasks. The other closes the door, silences the phone, and immerses herself in a single hard problem. 8 hours later, both are tired, but only one has built something of real value. That is the difference between depth and distraction. One drains, the other delivers. Distraction isn't accidental anymore. It's engineered. Apps are built to be addictive. Notifications are designed to create urgency. Algorithms know your preferences better than you do. Every ding and buzz is a hook, and every time you bite, you trade depth for dopamine. The modern mind is constantly stimulated but rarely focused, and in that overstimulated state, we lose the ability to think clearly, work creatively, and finish what matters most. Focus is a form of rebellion now. It means saying no to what's easy so you can say yes to what matters. Depth demands discomfort, the kind that comes from sitting with a tough idea, working through mental resistance, or staying in silence when you'd rather scroll. It's not glamorous, but it is powerful. True progress never comes from comfort. It comes from consistency, showing up for your mind like an athlete shows up for training. Think of your attention as a currency. Every time you check your phone mid-task, you're paying a tax on your own productivity. Research shows it takes an average of 23 minutes to refocus after an interruption. Now multiply that by the dozens of pings you get in a day. That's not just a loss of minutes, that's a hemorrhaging of momentum. And momentum is what separates those who start things from those who finish them. Deep work is how breakthroughs are born. When you remove the noise, patterns emerge, ideas begin to connect. Your thinking sharpens. The clutter clears. You move from reaction to intention, from busyness to brilliance. The work slows down, but your impact speeds up. That's the paradox. Going deeper actually accelerates growth. It starts by reclaiming control. Don't wait for the world to slow down, it won't. You must build your own boundaries. Choose sacred blocks of time when no one can reach you. Protect them like appointments with your future. Use tools that help, not hurt. A notebook, a clean desk, a minimalist to-do list. Shut the door. Close the tabs. Breathe. Begin. The shift doesn't happen overnight. You'll fidget. You'll want to check something. Your brain, wired by years of distraction, will rebel. That's okay. The muscle of attention strengthens through resistance. Every time you refocus, you're training your brain to value depth over noise. Over time, you won't just do more, you'll become more. The world rewards clarity. The market rewards excellence, and neither comes from scattered effort. The more you train yourself to go deep, the more you'll notice how shallow most work really is. You'll start to crave depth the way others crave likes and clicks. You'll produce work that stands out. You'll solve harder problems. You'll separate yourself, not through hustle, but through precision. Distraction is easy. Depth is earned, but depth is where your edge leaves. In a distracted world, the focused are few. And the few who master their attention will lead, create, and rise. They won't be the noisiest, they'll be the ones everyone watches quietly, wondering how they did it. Distraction is engineered, depth must be intentional. Focus is a skill built through repetition and resistance. Going deeper accelerates your growth and impact. What distractions are costing you the most momentum each day? Choose one 90-minute block this week. Remove all distractions. Commit to deep work, and watch what emerges. Chapter 3. The Myth of Multitasking. Multitasking sounds like a skill. In truth, it's a liability. It promises speed but delivers sloppiness. It pretends to make us efficient while silently eroding our ability to do anything with excellence. We've been sold the lie that juggling tasks is a badge of productivity, but neuroscience says otherwise. The human brain cannot focus on two demanding tasks at the same time. What we call multitasking is really rapid task switching, and every switch comes with a cost. Studies from Stanford University show that people who consider themselves heavy multitaskers are actually worse at filtering irrelevant information, slower at task switching, and less mentally organized. The more we try to do at once, the less we're capable of doing anything well. Our attention becomes diluted. Our thinking grows shallow. Mistakes creep in. Fatigue rises. Progress stalls. Consider how deep work contrasts with this. When you immerse yourself in one hard thing, a proposal, a problem, a piece of writing, your brain begins to shift into higher order thinking. And distractions fade. Time slows down. You make connections you wouldn't otherwise see. You enter what researchers call a flow state, where challenge meets skill and effort becomes effortless. This isn't magic, it's biology, and multitasking kills it on arrival. Every time you jump between tasks, your brain must reset. That reset burns cognitive fuel. It fragments your attention and weakens your working memory. Imagine trying to read a novel by flipping to a random page every 5 minutes. That's how most of us work today, not in chapters but in chaos. And then we wonder why we can't concentrate, why the day ends without a clear sense of accomplishment. The workplace often rewards multitasking, or seems to. Being busy looks like being valuable, but being effective is something else entirely. The person who clears their inbox might seem productive, but the person who builds a solution that saves the company 100 hours? That's the one who creates leverage. Deep work is what produces breakthroughs, not fragmented attention. The myth persists because the rewards of multitasking are immediate and superficial. You feel responsive. You feel needed. But deep work operates on delay. Its fruits come later, a completed strategy, a polished product, a solved challenge. It doesn't give you a dopamine hit. It gives you something better, actual results. To break free of the multitasking trap, you must reframe your day. Stop treating all tasks as equal. Group shallow tasks, emails, calls, scheduling, into designated windows. Then guard your deep work blocks like they're sacred. In those blocks, one task wins. One goal leads. Everything else waits. You train your brain to go deep by going deep. Over time, the urge to check fades. The noise quiets. The signal sharpens. Multitasking is the illusion of progress. It feels productive because it's frantic. But real work, the kind that changes careers and companies, is done in calm, focused solitude. It's created by those who slow down enough to think, to connect dots others miss, to solve problems at their root. The future belongs to those who do one thing at a time, deeply and without apology. Don't chase the applause of busyness. Build the legacy of depth. Your brain is not a browser with infinite tabs. It's a high-performance engine, but only when you give it one road to run. Multitasking reduces performance, clarity, and creativity. True productivity comes from singular, deep focus. Flow states require undivided attention to emerge. When do you mistake being busy for being effective? Pick one task tomorrow. Do it without switching, checking, or reacting. Notice the difference and the results. Chapter 4. Sacred Time Blocks. There's a moment in every high performer's day when the door closes, the phone goes silent, and the world falls away. That moment isn't accidental, it's engineered. It's a sacred time block, protected and intentional, designed not for catching up, but for leaping ahead. In a culture that celebrates availability, this kind of focused solitude is radical. But it's also where the magic happens. Most people let their calendars happen to them. Meetings get dropped in, tasks spill over, and interruptions dictate the rhythm. Time is treated like a shared resource, not a personal asset. But time, once spent, doesn't return. That's why those who grow the fastest treat their time like a fortress. They don't wait for the perfect hour to appear, they carve it out and guard it with discipline. A sacred time block is more than just scheduled work. It's a commitment. It's a signal to yourself and to others. This is when I create, solve, build, think. This is not for emails, not for messages, not for multitasking. This is deep territory, and it's closed to all but your most meaningful work. When you protect these blocks, your output transforms. You stop reacting and start producing. You stop spinning and start shaping. The power of these blocks lies in their purity. No tabs, no alerts, no calls. Just you, your mind, and the problem in front of you. The first few sessions might feel uncomfortable. Your thoughts may wander. Your fingers might hover over your phone, but keep going. The discomfort is proof that you're rewiring old habits. The goal is not perfection, it's progress. Each block builds endurance. Each session builds clarity. Creating sacred time requires intention. It won't happen by default. Start by identifying your peak cognitive hours, the times when your mind feels sharpest. For many, it's the morning. For others, it's late at night. Block these windows on your calendar. Aim them. Make them visible. Then, communicate clearly. Let your team or family know this time is non-negotiable. Respect invites respect. When you take your deep work seriously, others will too. Preparation is key. Before the block begins, define exactly what you'll focus on. Vague plans lead to vague effort. Be specific. What problem are you solving? What draft are you writing? What system are you building? Prepare your tools in advance. Clear your workspace. Close unnecessary programs. Then, begin with intention. You're not checking off tasks, you're building something that matters. Interruptions will tempt you. But every time you protect the block, you're sending a message to your subconscious. My work matters. Over time, your brain will learn that these blocks are different. They're where deep thought is expected, where flow is possible, where breakthroughs happen. What starts as discipline becomes ritual. What begins as structure becomes sanctuary. The most successful people don't work nonstop. They work deeply, then they rest. Sacred time blocks aren't about grinding for 8 hours. They're about making 60 minutes count more than most people's full day. It's not the quantity of hours that moves the needle, it's the quality. Depth, not duration, is what builds mastery. Time is the one resource you can't create more of, but you can absolutely control how you spend it. Sacred time blocks are how you reclaim that control. They're not a luxury, they're the cost of excellence, and in a distracted world, few are willing to pay it, those who are become the ones who shape the future. Sacred time blocks are essential for high-impact work. Preparation, protection, and clarity turn time into momentum. One deep block outperforms hours of distracted effort. What window of your day could you claim for deep, uninterrupted focus? Schedule a 60-minute block this week. Protect it. Use it for your most important task, and notice the shift. Chapter 5. Designing your deep work environment. Step into the cockpit of a high-performance aircraft, and you'll notice one thing: every control, every switch, every gauge exists for a reason. Nothing is random. Everything serves focus. Now compare that to most workspaces: cluttered desks, endless tabs, open office noise, and a phone vibrating every 5 minutes. It's no wonder deep work feels impossible. The environment isn't built for it. Where you work determines how you work. Your surroundings either support focus or sabotage it. They can signal to your brain that it's time to go deep, or that it's time to stay reactive. And while you can't always control the world outside, you can absolutely take ownership of your immediate environment. Deep work doesn't happen in chaos. It happens in calm, deliberate spaces. Start by eliminating friction. Visual clutter drains cognitive energy. A messy desk might seem harmless, but every item competes for attention. Clear your surface until only what's needed remains. A notebook. Porsamanden. A laptop. A task list with one priority. That's it. This minimalism isn't aesthetic, it's strategic. Simplicity gives your brain room to think. Then there's sound. Noise is one of the most common barriers to deep focus. Even background chatter reduces comprehension and increases stress. If you work in a shared space, noise-canceling headphones can be a game changer. Instrumental music, ambient soundtracks, or even silence can help create a psychological boundary, an audible signal that you're entering deep territory. Terrain matters too. Dim lighting dulls your energy, harsh lighting creates fatigue. Natural light is best when possible. A well-lit workspace lifts mood and sharpens alertness. Small environmental shifts like this compound over time. They reduce resistance. They help you get into flow faster and stay there longer. Now, think digitally. Your screen is part of your environment. What you leave open matters. Every extra tab, every notification bubble, every unread message pulls at your focus like gravity. Before beginning a deep work session, close anything irrelevant. Log out if you must. Block websites that tempt. Treat your browser like a clean workbench, only the tools you need, nothing more. Deep work is also affected by posture and energy. Sitting hunched over a couch with your laptop on your knees is fine for checking email, but it doesn't signal focus. A supportive chair, a flat desk, feet grounded. These physical cues matter. They communicate seriousness. They trigger habits. Your body tells your brain, this is work that matters. Your environment should also reduce decision fatigue. Having to decide where to sit, what to work on, or when to begin wastes mental fuel. Create a default setting. A go-to space, a go-to time. A go-to ritual. Maybe it's brewing coffee, lighting a candle, putting on the same playlist. These routines cue your brain that it's time to shift into deep gear. Over time they become anchors, small acts that create big momentum. You don't need a perfect setup, you need a consistent one, a space that's designed for intention, a place that's free of the trivial, rich in focus. Because when the environment supports your ambition, resistance fades. You stop battling distractions and start building breakthroughs. Great work rarely happens by accident. It's created in spaces that make it easier to focus, harder to quit, and more natural to stay engaged. The person who designs their environment with intention doesn't just work better, they think better. They become a force, not just a responder, and in a distracted world, that's a rare and powerful edge. Your environment can either amplify or erode deep work. Minimalism, lighting, sound, and posture all influence focus. Intentional design removes friction and fuels momentum. What one change to your workspace would make deep focus easier? Clear your desk. Remove one digital distraction. Create a simple cue to start your next deep work session. Chapter 6: Digital Minimalism for High Achievers. Open your phone and count the icons. Scroll your inbox. Look at your browser. How many tabs are open? For most, the number isn't just high, it's overwhelming. We live surrounded by pings, dings, alerts, and updates. Technology was meant to serve us, but now we serve it. We check before we think. We scroll before we start. The result? Attention is scattered, energy is diluted, and deep work becomes a distant goal. Digital minimalism isn't about abandoning technology. It's about mastering it. It means using tools with intention, not addiction. The goal is to eliminate digital noise so your mind can engage in deep creation. Every notification you eliminate, every app you remove, every shortcut you uninstall reclaims a slice of your focus. Focus is finite. What you allow into your digital world shapes the quality of your inner world. Most apps aren't evil, but they are engineered for engagement, not growth. Social media platforms, for example, are designed to hijack your attention through endless scrolls and unpredictable dopamine hits. Email, while necessary, becomes a reactive trap when checked compulsively. Even productivity apps, meant to help, can become a distraction when overused or mismanaged. Every tool, no matter how useful, becomes toxic when it's used without boundaries. Begin with an audit. For one day, track your digital behavior. How often do you check your phone? How many tabs do you toggle between? How often do you react instead of act? Awareness is the first step. You can't reclaim focus until you see where it's leaking. Once you've seen the patterns, begin cutting the fat. Delete unused apps. Unsubscribe from newsletters you never read. Turn off notifications for anything that doesn't require immediate action. Clarity starts with subtraction. The next step is containment. Set boundaries for when and how you use digital tools. Batch your emails into 2 or 3 specific windows. Use website blockers during deep work hours. Put your phone in another room while you focus. These small constraints generate massive results. You stop living in response mode and start regaining control over your attention. Create a clean digital workspace. Your desktop should be as focused as your physical one. Keep only essential files and tools visible. Limit browser tabs to what you need right now. Use a single task manager, not 5. Reduce redundancy. Every click you eliminate removes friction. Every distraction you prevent adds fuel to your momentum. Replace compulsive use with conscious rituals. Instead of checking your phone during breaks, take a walk. Instead of opening social media for stimulation, read a paragraph of something meaningful. You're not just avoiding distraction, you're retraining your mind. Deep work isn't just about what you do, it's about what you stop doing. Digital minimalism gives your brain space to think, breathe, and create. This isn't about becoming a digital monk. It's about becoming a focused builder in a noisy world. High achievers don't eliminate tech, they refine their relationship with it. They curate their inputs. They limit clutter. They wield digital tools like a scalpel, not a shotgun. That's what sets them apart. They don't let the world's noise drown their own signal. Technology is neutral. It's the usage that determines its power. Used with intention, it amplifies your abilities. Used carelessly, it numbs them. Deep work requires a clean signal path, from thought to action, from vision to execution. When the digital fog lifts, your edge returns, not by adding more apps, but by mastering fewer. Digital clutter dilutes attention and weakens deep focus. Minimalism in tech is about intentional use, not total rejection. Boundaries and subtraction sharpen your cognitive edge. What digital habit is costing you the most focus right now? Delete one app, disable one notification, or block one website for the next deep work session. Chapter 7. Training the mind like a muscle. Imagine walking into a gym for the first time in years and trying to bench press your body weight. The result would be predictable strain, instability, and quick collapse. Yet this is exactly how most people approach focus. They expect deep concentration on command without ever having trained their attention. But like muscle, focus is built through repetition, resistance, and recovery. Your mind wasn't designed to multitask across dozens of platforms. It was designed to solve problems, create solutions, and make meaning. But it needs training. Without deliberate effort, your focus degrades. It weakens through neglect and constant interruption. Rebuilding it requires the same principles used in physical conditioning: overload, adaptation, and rest. Deep work isn't just mental activity, it's mental fitness. Start with short sessions. Expecting yourself to focus deeply for hours from the start is like running a marathon without ever jogging a mile. Begin with 30 minutes of uninterrupted focus. No phones, no tabs, no noise. At first your brain will rebel. You'll feel bored, restless, or fatigued. That's not failure, that's the burn of unused cognitive muscle waking up. Push through. Each time you resist distraction, you're getting stronger. Discomfort is part of the process. We've grown addicted to stimulation. The moment silence sets in, we reach for something: a screen, a scroll, a shortcut. But growth lives in the gap between discomfort and discipline. The mind, like the body, adapts when it's stretched. Lean into the urge to escape and stay. Stay with the sentence. Stay with the problem. Stay with the task. Mastery begins in the moment you don't quit. Progress compounds. Just like lifting heavier weights leads to strength gains, sustaining deeper focus leads to sharper thinking. Over time, 30 minutes becomes 45, then 60, then 90. You stop watching the clock and start losing yourself in the work. You enter flow not by force, but by familiarity. The mind begins to crave depth the way the body craves movement. It starts to prefer immersion over stimulation. Deliberate practice is key. Don't just spend time working, spend time improving how you work. Notice where your attention wavers. Study your own distractions. Were they triggered by fatigue, fear, or boredom? Track your sessions like a coach would track training. What time of day were you most focused? What environment worked best? These reflections refine your performance. They turn you from a worker into a craftsman. Just as physical training requires rest, so does mental training. Deep work drains your cognitive resources. That's why recovery matters. Sleep isn't a luxury, it's neurological repair. Breaks aren't laziness, they're strategic resets. When you work deeply, rest deeply. Unplug completely. Let your mind wander. Some of your best ideas will surface in those quiet spaces, unforced and organic. Discipline makes depth possible. But discipline isn't rigid, it's rhythmic. The world's top performers don't work nonstop, they oscillate between intensity and recovery. They treat their mind like a performance engine, one that needs maintenance, fuel, and rest. They don't leave it to chance, they train it with precision. The ability to focus deeply is becoming rarer. That makes it more valuable. In a distracted world, the disciplined mind becomes a superpower. But it's not a gift, it's a skill, a muscle. One you build, one you break, one you grow. And in that growth you become the person others can't ignore, not because you shout the loudest, but because you work with rare power and precision. Focus is a skill trained like a muscle through repetition and discomfort. Start small, track progress, and embrace discomfort as growth. Rest and recovery are essential parts of cognitive performance. What's your current focus endurance, and where do you want it to be? Schedule one 30-minute deep focus session today. No distractions. Log what you learn. Chapter 8. Flow States on Demand. There's a zone where time dissolves, and distractions vanish. Action and awareness merge. You're fully present, fully immersed, fully alive in the task. This isn't just productivity, it's flow, and while it might feel mystical, flow is not magic. It's a state you can design for, train for, and enter on demand. Flow happens when challenge meets skill. Too easy, and you're bored. Too hard, and you're anxious. But when the difficulty stretches you just beyond comfort, and your attention is undivided, flow begins. Your brain releases dopamine, norepinephrine, and endorphins. Focus narrows. Speed increases. Ideas connect. You don't try harder, you move faster with less friction. Most people stumble into flow occasionally, often by accident, but high performers reverse engineer it. They build the conditions for it to show up consistently. They understand that flow isn't about intensity, it's about alignment. The right task, the right environment, the right intention. When those align, deep work shifts from effortful to effortless. The first condition for flow is clarity. You need a clear goal, not vague ambition, but specific focus. Write the report is not a flow-worthy objective. Draft the first 3 sections of the report by 11 a.m. is. The more precise the aim, the easier it is for your brain to lock in. Ambiguity breeds drift. Clarity creates momentum. The second condition is time. Flow doesn't show up in 5-minute bursts. It needs space. Researchers suggest that flow usually kicks in around 20 minutes into a task. That means your first priority is to stay with the task long enough for the state to emerge. If you keep checking your phone or switching tabs, you never reach the threshold. You abort the process before ignition. Next comes the environment. Flow hates friction. Visual clutter, digital noise, and external interruptions block the neural runway. Create a space that invites focus. A quiet room, a clean desk, a single open window on your screen. The more friction you remove, the easier it is for flow to find you. Make it easier for your brain to dive deep, and it will. Triggers help too. These are cues that signal to your mind it's time to enter flow. It might be a playlist you only use for deep work, a warm-up ritual like sketching ideas, a specific location or time of day. These cues, repeated consistently, become neural pathways. They reduce resistance. They smooth the transition into depth. But perhaps the most underappreciated trigger is emotional alignment. Flow often emerges when the task matters. When there's meaning behind the effort. When the stakes are real, even if only to you. If you can find personal relevance, a sense of purpose or urgency, your brain invests more fully. It stops resisting and starts engaging. The work becomes not just something to finish, but something to master. Distractions are the enemy of flow. Even small ones reset your mental rhythm. That's why flow is incompatible with multitasking. If you want to get into the zone, you have to guard the gates. That means silencing notifications, logging out of accounts, and setting expectations with others. It also means recognizing internal distractions, thoughts, doubts, boredom, and letting them pass without acting on them. Flow is where your best work lives. It's where you move beyond effort and into excellence. You produce more, with less stress. You surprise yourself. You tap into abilities that seem unreachable when distracted. And the more often you reach this state, the more it becomes part of how you operate, not occasionally, but repeatedly. Flow arises when challenge meets skill in a distraction-free environment. Clear goals, consistent triggers, and emotional engagement create conditions for flow. Protecting time and space is essential to invite flow states. When was the last time you lost yourself in your work, and what triggered it? Choose a meaningful task. Set a 60-minute block. Eliminate all distractions. Chase flow and stay there. Chapter 9. Making deep work a lifestyle. Deep work isn't just a technique, it's a way of life. It's not something you schedule occasionally, it's something you live intentionally. When practiced consistently, it stops being a productivity hack and starts becoming part of your identity. It's not just about doing focused work. It's about becoming someone who defaults to focus, even in a world wired for distraction. Most people treat focus like a switch, something to flip on when needed. But sustained depth doesn't work that way. It functions more like a rhythm, a cadence woven into your daily habits. The deeper the rhythm, the more automatic it becomes. You begin each day not asking if you'll do deep work, but when. It becomes the anchor around which everything else revolves. Routines matter. The most productive people don't leave deep work to chance. They design their days around it. Morning routines are especially powerful. A consistent early ritual, reading, writing, thinking, primes your brain for clarity before the noise begins. Starting the day with intention sends a signal to your subconscious: today we lead, we don't react. Time blocking is your daily defense. Choose your most valuable hours and reserve them for cognitively demanding tasks. Stack shallow work, emails, errands, admin around them. This creates structure. It protects mental energy. It ensures that what matters most gets done when you're at your best. Deep work isn't about squeezing in a burst here and there. It's about crafting a system where deep focus becomes inevitable. You'll also need boundaries. A lifestyle of depth requires you to disappoint others occasionally. You won't be instantly available. You'll miss a few updates. You'll say no more often. But in exchange, you'll gain clarity, creativity, and compounding results. Not everyone will understand. But those who do, the ones who value output over optics, will respect it. Over time, so will you. What makes deep work sustainable isn't just discipline, it's recovery. Focus depletes energy. If you don't rest, you burn out. That's why deep work practitioners build in real breaks. They disconnect fully after hours. They take walks without phones. They make space for silence. Recovery isn't slacking, it's refueling the engine. Without it, you don't go deep, you just grind, and grinding leads to decline. Identity reinforces behavior. When you see yourself as someone who works deeply, your choices shift. You protect your mornings. You decline unnecessary meetings. You close the tab when distraction whispers. You aren't just acting differently, you're becoming different. Every time you protect your focus, you vote for the future you're building. The habit becomes a pattern. The pattern becomes a lifestyle. Environment plays a role too. Surround yourself with people who respect deep work, who value craftsmanship over chaos, who celebrate results, not reaction speed. If your environment constantly pulls you into shallowness, redesign it. Whether it's your workspace, your calendar, or your digital setup, everything around you should reinforce your commitment to depth. Sustainability also comes from vision. Deep work is hard. It's tempting to give in to distraction. That's why you must stay connected to your why. What are you building? Who are you becoming? What future does your focus make possible? Purpose fuels perseverance. When you know what's at stake, it's easier to say no to what doesn't serve it. Deep work, practiced consistently, becomes more than a strategy. It becomes a way of seeing the world, not as a barrage of demands, but as a canvas for creation. You stop reacting. You start shaping. You don't just get more done. You get the right things done. With clarity, with purpose, with excellence. Deep work becomes powerful when embedded into daily routines. Boundaries, recovery, and identity are keys to sustainability. Purpose and structure turn deep work from a tactic into a lifestyle. What routines and boundaries can you implement to make deep work your default? Design your ideal deep work day. Block the time, set the boundaries. Follow through tomorrow. Chapter 10: Saying No to Shallow. Every yes is a no in disguise. When you agree to the unnecessary meeting, the social scroll, the reactive task, you're quietly saying no to something else, usually something deeper, harder, and far more important. Shallow work doesn't just steal your time. It steals your trajectory. The person who masters deep work doesn't just focus better. They say no better. Shallow work is seductive. It feels productive. It creates the illusion of progress. You check a box, send a message, attend a call, but nothing substantial changes. Nothing is created. No problems are solved at the root. You stay busy without building anything that matters. It's the professional equivalent of running on a treadmill, exhausting, but going nowhere. In contrast, deep work is invisible until it's undeniable. You don't get applause for skipping a meeting. No one congratulates you for ignoring your inbox during focus time. But behind the scenes, the compound interest of those decisions starts to show. Projects finish faster. Ideas improve. You produce work others can't replicate. But that kind of clarity requires a hard discipline, the discipline of saying no to the shallow. Saying no is not about being rude, it's about being responsible. Every hour you give away casually is one you can't invest intentionally. Every yes you offer without scrutiny is a vote for distraction. You don't need to become a hermit, you just need to become selective. Ask yourself, before every commitment, does this align with my most valuable goals? If not, let it go. Time is finite. Excellence requires choices. Boundaries are where deep work lives. Without them, your calendar fills with other people's priorities. Your day becomes a list of reactions instead of a sequence of intentions. Boundaries look like blocked time, silenced devices, declined invites, and delayed responses. They're not selfish, they're strategic. Because the work that moves you forward is rarely urgent, and the urgent rarely moves you forward. Emails can wait. Slack messages can wait. Most meetings can be declined or shortened, but the window to build something great, that is limited. You must protect it. That starts with clarity. Know what matters most. Know when you do your best thinking. Know what shallow patterns are eating your depth. Then remove them, one by one. Not all at once, but consistently. You'll feel resistance. The fear of missing out is real. You'll worry about seeming unresponsive or unavailable. But here's what actually happens. The people who matter respect your clarity. The people who don't adapt. And you get better at what you were hired to do, create value. In the end, no one remembers how fast you replied to an email. They remember the solutions you delivered, the insight you brought, the work only you could do. Shallow work will always scream louder than deep work. It will knock first. It will be easier to say yes to. That's why the edge goes to those who don't just manage time, but protect it fiercely, who learn to live with silence instead of noise, who say no not just to tasks, but to tendencies. You don't rise by doing more. You rise by doing what few others will commit to, real work, done deeply. Every no to the shallow is a yes to your craft, a yes to your future. A yes to becoming someone whose work carries weight. Not just because it's done, but because it matters. Shallow work creates motion, but not momentum. Saying no to distractions protects your time and trajectory. Boundaries are essential to sustain deep, high-value output. What shallow commitments or habits are quietly stealing your best hours? Say no once today to a task, request, or habit, and use that time for something deep. Chapter 11: The Leverage of Mastery. Mastery doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for attention or race to keep up. It moves with quiet certainty, grounded in skill that took time, sweat, and solitude to build. Deep work is the path to mastery, and mastery is leverage. It turns focused hours into exponential results. It separates the average from the exceptional, the busy from the irreplaceable. In a distracted world, most people dabble. They touch many things but finish few. They know a little about a lot, but not enough about anything to lead. Mastery is the opposite. It's depth over dabbling. It's going so far into a craft, a skill, or a problem that you no longer guess you know, that knowing becomes your advantage. Not because you work harder, but because you've gone deeper than others are willing to go. Deep work is the training ground, Every focus session adds another layer to your competence. Each block of uninterrupted time builds clarity, intuition, and confidence. You don't just learn, you internalize. The work moves from conscious effort to second nature. What was once difficult becomes fluid. You no longer wrestle for every inch. You begin to glide. Mastery is misunderstood. People think it's about genius. In truth, it's about patience. It's showing up when it's boring, returning when it's frustrating. Drilling fundamentals when no one's watching. You can't cram for mastery. You compound your way there. One deep hour, one hard-earned insight, one mental rep at a time. Over years, not weeks. But once you've earned it, mastery pays you back with leverage. It allows you to do more with less. You write one proposal, and it lands the client. You solve one problem, and it saves a department. You speak once and people listen. The world bends to depth. It rewards precision, not presence. It elevates those who deliver results others can't replicate. Think of a master craftsman. They don't rush. They don't explain. They simply produce work that speaks for itself. Every joint fits. Every detail aligns. That level of excellence didn't come from watching tutorials or juggling projects. It came from going deep, again and again, until their work became a signature. That's what deep work makes possible. Signature-level output. In today's economy, that kind of output is rare, and therefore powerful. When you master your craft, you become less dependent on external permission. You no longer chase opportunities. Opportunities start to find you. People come to you not just for effort, but for excellence. Not because you're available, but because you're distinct. That's leverage. And the beauty of it is this: you don't need to be the best in the world. You just need to go deeper than most are willing. While others skim, you study. While others rush, you refine. Over time, that difference becomes massive. It widens until you're no longer in the same category. The depth creates distance, not in arrogance, but in impact. Deep work is how you get there. It's not flashy, it's not quick, but it's the only path that leads to real leverage, the kind that frees you from chasing, the kind that multiplies your value, the kind that gives you the quiet confidence of someone who knows their work stands. Mastery isn't a destination, it's a direction. Every deep hour moves you closer. Every moment of focus sharpens the edge, and as the edge sharpens, so does your influence. Mastery is built through consistent deep work, not scattered effort. Depth creates leverage, the ability to do more with less. Signature-level output is the result of going deeper than others are willing to go. Where in your craft could depth make you irreplaceable? Block 1 hour this week to practice, refine, or study a high-value skill without distraction. Take care, and be well.